Fellow rational thinkers, I am your strategic observer, Maggie Liu. Before I get into today's story, I want to ask you all a question. What does a person have to lose before she'd cheerfully sign a divorce document on her wedding night? Not her dignity. Not love. Not that phoenix crown. An illusion. This story isn't just about one woman's comeback. It is a net. Caught in that net are Gu Yunzhou, the Prince of Qin, the Duke of Anguo, and the Emperor. Every single one of them thought they were the one moving the pieces. Every single one of them thought Heroine was a piece to be moved, and Heroine, over 3 years, quietly turned herself into the one who flips the board. The moment the spring is compressed to its limit, no tears, no begging, just picking up a brush and pressing 2 characters onto the divorce document. Heroine. Keep reading. On the wedding night, the red candles had burned halfway down. My husband, the young lord of the day, Gu Yunzhou, pushed open the door and walked in, reeking of wine and a plum blossom scent that had nothing to do with me. He didn't spare me a single glance. He pulled a document from his sleeve and tossed it on the table. I keep my sweetheart in a private residence south of the city. She is fragile. She can't take any grief. His voice was colder than a late autumn night. Marrying you was my grandmother's wish and the emperor's decree. I had no way to refuse, but there will never be a second mistress in this Marquis manor. If you can't live with that, you can sign the divorce document right now. He thought I'd cry, make a scene, swallow my pride, just to hold on to the title of the Marquis manor's head wife. After all, my father gave up nearly half his fortune to make this marriage happen. I looked at his handsome yet cold face and suddenly smiled. My lord, do you mean that? He frowned, clearly impatient. Of course I mean it. As long as you sign, I'll have someone send you away tomorrow, every bit of your dowry returned, plus 10,000 taels of gold as compensation. I stood up, the phoenix coronet and red robe weighing on me like shackles. I walked to the vanity, picked up the purple hairbrush used for copying scriptures, dipped it in ink, and returned to the table. Under Gu Yunzhou's stunned gaze, I raised the brush and signed my name at the bottom of the divorce document, Heroine. The strokes were firm, the ink dark as iron. I pushed the document in front of him. My lord, it is signed. Can I leave now? He stared hard at my signature, as if he couldn't believe I'd agreed so readily. Those eyes that always carried a sneer showed genuine shock for the first time. I gave him the first truly heartfelt smile I'd had since the wedding. The night breeze stirred the candlelight, twisting his shadow across the wall. Gu Yunzhou, from this day on, we owe each other nothing. Just before dawn, I changed out of the wedding dress and put on the plain skirt I'd worn when I arrived. I opened the jewelry case, picked out a property deed for a place on Nanluo Lane in Capital City and a few banknotes, and tucked them into my sleeve, then closed the case, leaving everything else untouched. These were my dowry. Gu Yunzhou said he'd return every last bit of it to me. I trust him. He is the legitimate son of the Marquis manor. He still cares about keeping face. I pushed the door open, and the maidservant on guard jumped in fright. My lady, why did you get up on your own? Starting today, I'm no longer your lady. Go tell the Marquis I've left. The steward, Uncle Zhang, came rushing over to stop me. My lady, where are you headed? The old madam is still waiting for you to serve her tea. Uncle Zhang, please pass along my words to the old Madam Heroine lacks the fortune and has no fate serving her. The young Marquis and I parted ways last night. We've signed the divorce document. Uncle Zhang's eyes went wide as saucers. Divorce? How is that possible? I had no time to listen to him ramble. Move. Just then, Gu Yunzhou stepped out from behind the moon gate. He changed into a dark teal casual robe, with faint shadows under his eyes. Looked like he hadn't slept well either. Heroine, you actually dare to leave? I met his gaze. The divorce document is signed. Why wouldn't I dare? Or is the Marquis looking to go back on his word? I'd caught him off guard. His expression darkened further. My word is my bond. I, Gu Yunzhou, never go back on it. I just didn't expect you to be in such a rush. The Marquis's sweetheart is still waiting at the villa south of the city. If I don't make myself scarce, wouldn't I just be getting in the Marquis's way? That line hit like a blade, landing right where it hurt. His expression instantly darkened. Fine. Great. Since you want to leave, I won't stop you, Zhangbo. Get the carriage ready. Load up all her dowry. Not a single piece missing. See her out. I didn't look at him again and walked straight toward the Marquis Manor gate. Those two vermilion doors carved with gilded beast head knockers slowly swung open. Beyond the doors was the morning bustle of Capital City. Inside them was the beautiful dream I'd only lived for a single night. The moment I stepped over the threshold, I didn't look back. Gu Yunzhou's cold voice came from behind me. Shen Rowan, remember this. Once you walk out that door, you and I are done for good. From now on, even if you end up broke and destitute out there, don't even think about setting foot in my Marquis Manor again. I didn't slow my steps. Gu Yunzhou, don't worry. Capital City is full of life. It won't let a Shen Rowan starve. This Marquis Manor, even if they came for me in an 8-man sedan chair, I wouldn't step back inside. I didn't let the Marquis Manor's carriage take me. After they hauled the dozen-odd chests of dowry to the house on Nanluo Lane, I sent them on their way. The courtyard was small, a 2-entry layout, worn but well located, tucked away from the noise. Of everything my mother had prepared for my dowry, this was the most unassuming piece, and the one I valued most. She said, "A woman always needs a way out of her own." I stood on that way out and drew a long, deep breath. The air held none of that suffocating sandalwood smell from the Marquis Manor, only the sweet scent of osmanthus on an early autumn morning. The smell of freedom. In the days that followed, I started keeping myself busy. I took out all my dowry silver notes and hired the best craftsmen in Capital City to renovate this small courtyard from top to bottom. I drew the blueprints myself, designing every last detail. No carved beams or painted rafters, no gold and jade splendor, just bright, open, and clean. Winter gave way to spring, and 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. The run-down little courtyard at the end of Nanluo Alley had become an elegant shop. The signboard bore 3 characters I had written with my own hand, Liu Fang, using a few rare Western region manuscripts I'd found among my mother's dowry. I restored an ancient method for firing Liuli glass. The Liuli glass that came out of the kiln was clearer and more brilliant than any crystal on the market, its colors shifting and unpredictable. I crafted them into all kinds of novelty ornaments, delicate jewelry, and distinctive lanterns. Liu Fang caused a sensation across the entire capital city the moment it opened. Princes, nobles, wealthy merchants, and powerful magnates all flocked to it. A single small Liuli cup could be bid up to 1,000 taels of gold. I was no longer Shen Rowan, the merchant's daughter cast aside by the Marquis Manor. I was the mysterious and wealthy boss Shen of Liu Fang. I rarely showed my face in person. The shop's affairs were all handled by Chinka, a sharp-witted girl I had rescued from a trafficker. I only came out from the back courtyard when there were special guests or when new designs needed to be worked out. That day, I was in the back courtyard workshop testing a new glaze. Chinka came rushing in. "Boss, this is bad. There is a distinguished guest outside. Says he wants to see you and commission a one-of-a-kind glassware." I was about to turn him away, but he said he knows who you are. My heart sank. For 3 years, I'd been deliberately keeping a low profile under a false name, wanting nothing to do with my past. Who in Capital City would know my identity? I wiped my hands and walked out to the back courtyard. In the private room of the shop, a man dressed in a dark brocade robe stood with his back to me, studying the glass landscape painting on the wall. He was tall and carried himself with an extraordinary bearing even from behind. His silhouette radiated an authority that made you think twice before underestimating him. I steadied myself and stepped forward. "I heard you wanted to see me." The man slowly turned around. It was a strikingly handsome face, sharp sword-like brows, bright piercing eyes, a high-bridged nose. What left the deepest impression were his eyes, deep and still as a cold pool, as if they could see right through a person. His gaze settled on my face for a moment, and his thin lips parted slightly. "Boss Shen." My chest tightened. I kept my composure on the surface and gave a small nod. "That is me, and you are." He smiled faintly, that air of noble authority not diminishing in the slightest. "My surname is Shao. You can call me the Prince of Qin." My breath stopped dead. The Prince of Qin, Shao Ji, the reigning emperor's own younger brother, commanding a vast army, his power reaching every corner of the court. Also the only man at my wedding with Gu Yunzhou 3 years ago, who looked at me with eyes full of pity. What is he doing here? What does he want from me? I forced myself to calm down. 3 years of ups and downs in the business world had long taught me to keep my emotions off my face. I lowered my eyes slightly to avoid his all-too-sharp gaze. Why, it is Prince Chin. Your Highness graces us with your presence. This humble shop is honored. Might I ask what you'd like to commission? I threw myself fully into the role of Boss Shen, all business, polite but distant. He seemed to see right through my act, the corner of his mouth curling into an amused smile. No need for formalities, Boss Shen. I've come today to commission a birthday gift for my imperial grandmother in the palace. The Empress Dowager. My heart gave a sharp jolt. A birthday gift for the Empress Dowager. This was not a deal to take lightly. Do it well and it is the highest of honors. Do it wrong and it is a crime punishable by death. I grew even more cautious. Your Highness's filial devotion moves me deeply, only I'm not sure what kind of birthday gift you have in mind. The glasswork in this shop has its novelties, but it may not necessarily catch the Empress Dowager's eye. I was probing, and at the same time making excuses to back out. I wanted nothing to do with the imperial family, especially not with this unfathomable man standing before me. Xiao Jue didn't seem to catch the hint that I was trying to bow out. He paced over to the window and looked at the trellis of roses I had planted with my own hands in the courtyard. This prince has heard that Master Shen of Luoli Workshop is not only supremely skilled but can also work miracles out of nothing. What this prince wants is no ordinary piece. He turned around and fixed me with a burning gaze. This prince wants a 9-turn exquisite glazed tower. I sucked in a sharp breath. The 9-turn exquisite glazed tower. It was a legendary object I had once come across in the remnants of an ancient text. Crafted entirely from 7-colored glaze fired into 9 tiers, each tier capable of rotating. The tower hollow at its core when a candle was placed inside, the light refracted through the different colored glaze into thousands upon thousands of hues, shimmering and radiant, like something out of a dream. But the craft used to make it had been lost for 100 years, and the difficulty of recreating it was no less than ascending to heaven. Your Highness must be joking. I slowly shook my head. A thing like this belongs only in the heavens. It is beyond human hands. This shop can't make it. Xiao Jue, far from looking disappointed at those words, only smiled deeper. Master Shen, don't be so quick to refuse. This prince knows how rare this object is, but this prince also knows if there is still one person in this world who can restore it, that person is you. His words carried an unshakable confidence, as though he had already seen through every card I held. My heart skipped a beat. Just how much did he know? He continued, the Empress Dowager's birthday is 1 month away. During this time, whatever rare materials you need, I can procure them for you. Whatever craftsmen you need, I can dispatch them to you. As for the price, he held up 3 fingers. This many in gold. 30,000 taels of gold, enough to buy half the wealth of the capital city. I'll admit I was tempted, but I knew better than anyone that there is no such thing as a free lunch. At that kind of price, what he was buying was definitely not just a glass pagoda. I was quiet for a moment, then raised my head and looked him straight in the eyes. Your Highness, why does it have to be me? There are countless skilled craftsmen in the capital city. Why pick some nobody like me? Xiao Jue's gaze turned deep. He walked toward me step by step, and that invisible pressure made it almost impossible to breathe. He stopped in front of me, no more than 3 feet away, his voice low and laced with something enticing. Because what I see in you is not just your craft, it is you yourself, Shen Round, the cast-off wife of the Marquis Manor 3 years ago, and 3 years later the mistress of a glass workshop known throughout the capital city. You're very interesting. Word by word, he peeled open the scar I wanted most to keep hidden. My whole body went ice-cold, like I'd fallen into a frozen pit. He really did know everything. I dug my nails hidden inside my sleeve deep into my palm. Your Highness has been investigating me. I wouldn't call it an investigation, he said it lightly. It is just that I tend to pay a little more attention to interesting people and things. So, Boss Shen, what do you think of my proposal? This isn't just a business deal, it is an opportunity. An opportunity for you to truly find your footing so no one will ever dare look down on you again. That last line of his hit like a needle, piercing straight into the softest part of my heart. No one daring to look down on me. Wasn't that exactly the goal I'd been pushing myself to the limit for these past 3 years? But the price was stepping onto Prince Chim's ship, one with depth I couldn't begin to fathom. Whether it be a blessing or a curse was anyone's guess. I watched him, my mind spinning 1,000 times over. It was a long while before I found my voice again. This is a serious matter. Please give me 3 days to think it over. After seeing Prince Chin out, I immediately had Chinque close up the shop. I sat alone on a stone bench in the backyard, my mind a total mess. Prince Chin Xiao Jie, he was like a massive stone thrown into the lake of my life, which I'd worked so hard to finally calm, sending ripples spreading out in every direction. The 9-turn exquisite glazed tower, 30,000 taels of gold, a chance for no one to ever dare look down on me again. These temptations were like a carefully woven net dropping straight down over my head. I knew he wasn't discussing it with me, he was notifying me. With the power he held, if I refused, the glazed workshop could vanish from Capital City by tomorrow. But if I agreed, I'd be dragged back into that world of the powerful and privileged that I'd fought so hard to escape. That world had Guyunzhou, the Marquis Manor, and everyone and everything I never wanted to see again. Chinque carefully brought over a cup of hot tea and set it beside me. Boss, are you all right? Did that noble guest give you a hard time? I shook my head and forced a smile. I'm fine, Chinque. Has anything special been going on in the capital city these past few days? I needed information, a lot of it, to figure out what the Prince of Qin was really after. Chinque thought for a moment. Nothing too special, really. Oh wait, I heard the Chenjin Marquis Manor has been having some trouble lately. My heart tightened. The Marquis Manor? What happened? Word is that the young lord's sweetheart, the one he keeps at the South City Villa, has fallen ill. Real bad, too. They've gone through every famous doctor and none of them can do a thing. The young lord's been scouring the city for rare treasures to bring her good luck, and the whole capital city knows about it by now. Gu Yunzhou, Liu Yingying. I hadn't heard those 2 names in 3 years. Hearing them again now, I felt not even the slightest ripple in my heart. It was like listening to a story that had nothing to do with me. I picked up my teacup and gently blew on the steam. Anything else? There has also been some unrest in the palace lately. They say noble consortin has been throwing her weight around in the rear palace, riding on the Emperor's favour. She doesn't even show the Empress Dowager any respect. For the Empress Dowager's upcoming birthday banquet, noble consortin's family, the Duke of An's household, got their hands on a 7-coloured coral tree that was tributed from some foreign land. And they're planning to steal the show at the banquet. A lot of the court officials think Prince Qin is going to be upstaged this time. I understood now. I understood completely. The Prince of Qin is the Empress Dowager's own nephew, and noble consort Angui is his political rival. This birthday banquet looks on the surface like a competition among the imperial harem, but it is really a power struggle at court. What the Prince of Qin needs isn't a simple birthday gift. He needs a national treasure that can outshine the 7-coloured coral tree and win back face for him and the Empress Dowager in the imperial court. And me and my so-called legendary craft are the pieces he has chosen to play. Once I figured that out, I actually calmed down. Being used as a pawn isn't scary. What is scary is having no value worth being used for. Since there is no avoiding it, might as well face it head on. I want Xiao Jue to know that this pawn of his isn't so easy to use. Using me comes at a price. On the 3rd day, I didn't get the Prince of Qin instead. I got an extremely understated ebony carriage. The coachman handed me an invitation card. It was from the Prince of Qin's residence, inviting me over for a talk. I changed into a clean and neat men's outfit, did a light disguise to make myself look like a delicate young scholar, then got on the carriage. The Prince of Qin's residence wasn't on Duke Avenue, but in a quiet alley on the west side of the city. No stone lions at the gate, no plaque, just 2 guards with cold, stern expressions. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, you'd never guess this was the residence of the Prince of Qin, a man who held the entire court in his grip. I was led into a study. Xiao Jie was sitting behind a large writing desk, handling official business. When he saw me come in, he didn't get up, just lifted his eyes slightly. Made up your mind? I nodded. I've made up my mind. I can fire a glazed pagoda for your highness. His face showed not the slightest surprise, as if everything was already in his grasp. Go ahead, name your terms. He really was a smart man, so I stopped beating around the bush. I don't want a single coin of gold. I only want one promise from your highness. What promise? I want the glazed workshop to become a royal merchant house. I want me, Shenron, to receive the imperially bestowed title of greatest artisan under heaven. And most importantly, I paused, then said each word with perfect clarity. From this day forward, no matter what trouble I, Shenron, may run into, so long as it doesn't involve treason, Prince Qin must protect me 3 times. The study fell dead silent, with only the wind outside the window rustling through the bamboo leaves. Xiao Jie set down the brush in his hand, stood up, and walked over to me. His tall figure loomed over me completely. I could smell the faint ambergris on him mingled with the scent of ink, the smell of power. He stared at me for a long, long time, so long I thought he was about to lose his temper. But then he suddenly smiled, a smile like the first thaw of ice and snow, full of admiration. You're even bolder than this king imagined. A royal merchant house, a title, 3 protections. Shenron, your appetite is quite something. I didn't back down and met his gaze. Compared to what your highness seeks, my terms aren't that steep. A 9-turn Linlong tower that can turn the tide for your highness at court, in exchange for a merchant girl's livelihood and safety. This is a deal your highness can't lose. He fell silent again. This time he circled around me, as if appraising a rare and precious object, smooth white jade from his waist. The jade pendant was carved with an archaic character Shao. He pressed the jade pendant into my hand. This is my personal seal. Seeing this pendant is the same as seeing me in person. I accept your terms, but you'd better remember if you can't produce the glazed tower, or if the tower has any flaws whatsoever. His voice suddenly turned cold. I have countless ways to make you and your glazed workshop vanish from this world without a trace. I brought the Qin Prince's jade pendant back to the glazed workshop. From that moment on, I shut myself inside the kiln room in the back courtyard. Firing the 9-turn Linlong glazed tower was far harder than I had imagined. The ancient technique had long been lost, and I could only rely on the sparse few lines in a damaged manuscript, feeling my way forward bit by bit, attempt after attempt, selecting the clay, mixing the materials, controlling the temperature, shaping the form. Not a single step could afford the slightest mistake. The Qin Prince kept his word. Whatever materials I needed, no matter how rare, would always appear punctually at my courtyard gate by the next morning. Fire crystals from the western regions, moonlight sand from the eastern sea, 5-colored earth from the southern frontier, treasures that ordinary people had never even laid eyes on kept flowing in like they cost nothing. I forgot to eat and sleep, pushing through without rest. 20 full days, over 100 failures, and the scrapped glass pieces piled up to fill half the courtyard. Until the dawn of the 21st day, the moment I opened the kiln door, a dazzling blaze of light burst forth from inside, flooding the entire courtyard as bright as noon. I gazed at the 9-tiered pagoda standing quietly at the heart of the kiln, radiant and flawless. I knew I had done it. The Empress Dowager's birthday banquet was held in the Taihei Hall of the Imperial Palace. As the one presenting the gift, I received special permission from the Prince of Qin to enter the palace and attend the ceremony. I didn't wear women's clothing, still the same plain, understated men's long robe with my hair bound up in a crown. In the identity of Boss Shen of the glassworks, the carriage sent by the Prince of Qin took me directly to the palace gate. With his token, I passed through every checkpoint without a hitch. Inside Taihei Hall, gold and jade gleamed everywhere. Bells rang and feasts were laid out, civil and military officials and imperial relatives all gathered together. I was arranged in an inconspicuous corner, watching through the bead curtain as those powerful figures who had once felt so far beyond my reach clinked cups and laughed freely. I saw Duke Ongguo, face flushed and brimming with smug satisfaction, with noble consortant at his side, draped in jewels and strikingly beautiful. I also saw the old marchioness. She seemed to have aged quite a lot. Sitting beside her was a familiar figure, Gu Yunzhou. He was dressed in a deep crimson Marquis court robe, which only made his jade-like face and striking look stand out even more. He'd gotten a bit thinner, a lingering gloom settled between his brows, and he seemed to be absent-mindedly drinking away his sorrows. 3 years apart, and he was still the same high and mighty young Marquis. But I was long past being the Shen ruin who could be pushed around at will. My gaze only rested on him for a moment before drifting away, like I was looking at a stranger. The birthday banquet was halfway through when the gift presentation began. The moment the Duke of Anguo's estate brought in the 7-coloured coral tree, the whole hall burst into applause. The coral tree stood over 3 chi tall, blood-red all over and shimmering with light, truly a rare treasure of the world. Even the Empress Dowager broke into a smile, and noble consort and shot a smug glance at the Prince of Qin. When it was the Prince of Qin's turn to present his gift, he simply rose to his feet with calm composure. "Imperial Grandmother, your grandson has found a small token to show his filial devotion. Summon the proprietress of Luoli Fang Shen to present herself," with the eunuch's long announcing cry. I cradled a large brocade box and slowly walked out from the corner, making my way through the crowd to the center of the hall. In that moment, I felt countless gazes lock onto me, curious ones, probing ones, contemptuous ones. I could feel one gaze in particular burning with shock and disbelief. It was Gu Yunzhou. I didn't look at him, walked straight ahead to the Empress Dowager and knelt down to bow. "This commoner Shen Ruan pays respects to the Empress Dowager. Long live, long live, long, long live." Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, I opened the brocade box. When the 9-turn exquisite glass pagoda was revealed before the world, the entire hall fell into dead silence. Everyone was so stunned by the divine object before them that they couldn't say a word. Even the Empress Dowager, who had seen countless treasures, was so moved she rose from her phoenix throne. What is this? How can something be so impossibly crafted?" I lit the specially made candle inside the pagoda. In an instant, 10,000 rays of light burst forth, and the entire hall of supreme harmony was enveloped in a dreamlike display of dazzling, multicolored light. Everyone was completely mesmerized. After what felt like an eternity, a thunderous wave of admiration erupted. A divine object, it truly is a divine object. Duke Anguo's 7-coloured coral tree was instantly overshadowed in the presence of this glass pagoda. Noble consortant's face turned ashen. I knew it, the Prince of Qin had won, and so had I. After the birthday banquet ended, the guests gradually dispersed. I was just about to follow the attendants from the Prince of Qin's residence and leave, when someone suddenly grabbed my arm with force. I turned around and met a pair of bloodshot eyes, red all over. It was Gu Yunzhou. He gripped my wrist with an iron grip so hard it felt like he was going to crush my bones. His voice was hoarse and trembling. "Shen Ruan, is it really you? How did you end up here? Who is that man beside you?" I looked at him coldly as he tried to pull free. "My lord, please conduct yourself with dignity." But he gripped tighter. "Tell me, where the hell did you go these past 3 years?" His demand sounded like a joke. Before I could even open my mouth, a cool, detached voice rose from behind us, carrying an authority that left no room for argument. "Lord Gu, what do you think you're doing to this Wang's guest?" The Prince of Qin, Xiao Jie, had appeared there at some point without anyone noticing. He lightly rested his hand on top of the hand Gu Yunzhou had wrapped around mine. I watched the colour drain from Gu Yunzhou's face in an instant. The Prince of Qin's voice wasn't loud, but it was like a block of ice 10,000 years old, freezing the air around them in an instant. Gu Yunzhou let go of my hand as if he'd been shocked. He stared at Xiao Jie, who had appeared out of nowhere, the blood draining completely from his face. The Prince of Qin." He bowed low, his voice unable to hide the panic inside. In the face of absolute power, that little bit of pride he had as a lord crumbled without a fight. Xiao Jie's hand still rested on his wrist. No force applied, yet Gu Yunzhou couldn't move an inch. Lord Gu seems to have quite an interest in this Wang's people. Xiao Jie's gaze swept lightly over my wrist, which had been squeezed red. Several clear fingerprints were left on my wrist. His eyes went cold all at once. "You think you can put your hands on this Wang's people?" Before the words even faded, a sharp crack rang out. Gu Yunzhou let out a muffled groan of pain, his wrist drooping at a grotesque angle. It had been snapped clean by Xiao Jie with brute force. The palace attendants around them were so frightened, they dropped to their knees one after another, not daring to breathe. I watched Gu Yunzhou's face go deathly pale with pain, cold sweat beading on his forehead, and felt not the slightest satisfaction in my heart, only a detached indifference, like watching a show. This is what power tastes like. Gu Yunzhou could summon me and dismiss me at will using the Marquis Manor's power, and Prince Xiao Jie could use his even greater power to break his hands and feet without letting him so much as let out a peep. Gu Yunzhou clutched his broken wrist and forced himself through the searing pain to kneel on the ground. Your Highness, please calm your anger. This subject did not know that this Shen boss was your Highness's person. This subject deserves 10,000 deaths. Xiao Ji didn't even spare him a glance. He took off his own outer robe, a black cloak embroidered with dark gold dragon patterns, and draped it over my shoulders. The cloak still carried the warmth of his body and that distinctive agarwood scent, wrapping me from head to toe without a gap and cutting off all the prying eyes around us. "You've had a fright," he said to me in a low voice, his tone carrying a gentleness that was barely perceptible. I shook my head and tugged at the cloak on my shoulders. "I'm fine." Only then did Xiao Jie shift his gaze back to Gu Yunzhou, who was kneeling on the ground. "Gu Yunzhou, out of respect for the old Marquise's loyal service to the country, I'll let you off this once. If there is a next time," he didn't finish, but those cold eyes said everything. "Get out." Gu Yunzhou scrambled to his feet as if granted amnesty, and fled in a sorry state with the help of his attendants. From start to finish, he never looked at me again. Maybe he didn't dare, maybe he couldn't, watching his figure disappear into the distance. My heart was a mess of feelings. 3 years ago, he looked down on me like I was dirt beneath his feet. 3 years later, he was kneeling on the ground like a stray dog. Nothing captures the fickleness of life better than this. "What are you thinking about?" Xiao Jui's voice pulled me back from my thoughts. I came back to my senses and met his deep, dark eyes. "I was thinking that your Highness's methods are truly swift and crushing." "I meant every word," he smiled, seemingly unbothered by my assessment. "When dealing with a mad dog, you naturally need a dog-beating stick. Come on, I'll walk you out of the palace." He took my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. His palm was broad, warm, and dry, carrying a kind of strength that put people at ease. I instinctively tried to pull back, but he gripped tighter. "Don't move, there are too many eyes here. You're my person, now act like it." His words were domineering, yet left no room for refusal. I stopped struggling and let him lead me by the hand through the long palace corridor. The palace lanterns cast our shadows long and dim. For a brief moment I had an illusion, as if we had already been walking like this for a very, very long time. On the way out of the palace, neither of us said a word, until the carriage stopped at the entrance of Liu's workshop. I stepped off the carriage, took the cloak off my shoulders, and handed it back to him. "Thank you, Your Highness." He didn't take it, just looked at me. "Shenron. That glass pagoda, I like it very much. And the Imperial Grandmother likes it very much too. Tomorrow's morning court is going to be quite interesting." I understood what he meant with the glass pagoda. He had gained the upper hand in his struggle against noble consort and's faction. "This is part of our deal," I answered calmly. He shook his head. "No, this goes beyond the scope of our deal. You gave this prince a surprise, so this prince has decided to give you one in return." "What surprise?" He didn't answer, just smiled mysteriously. "You'll find out tomorrow." With that, he let down the carriage curtain, and the carriage slowly rolled off into the night. I stood at the entrance of Liu's workshop, watching the direction he had gone, standing there for a long time without moving, my heart full of doubt. Xiao Jie, what exactly was he trying to do early the next morning? I was still deep in sleep when Qingkui's urgent knocking jolted me awake. Boss, wake up quick, something big happened." I threw on my clothes, got up, and opened the door. "What is going on?" Qingkui held up a freshly printed court gazette, face flushed with excitement. "Take a look, quick." I took the paper from her. The front page headline was printed in the largest font, with a bold line that read, "Shocking scandal rocks the Chengan Marquis manor. The young Marquis's sweetheart turns out to be the daughter of a convicted traitor from the previous dynasty." I froze. The newspaper described in detail the background of Gu Yunzhou's sweetheart. Liu Yingying. Turns out she was no clean-slated orphan. Her father was Liu Qing, the Vice Minister of Revenue, who had his entire family executed for embezzlement under the previous dynasty. As the daughter of a convicted criminal, Liu Yingying should have been sent to the Entertainment Bureau. But Gu Yunzhou had used his connections to rescue her and keep her hidden away in a private residence in the south of the city, like a treasured concubine. The end of the article posed a sharp question. The Chengan Marquis Manor has served the court loyally for generations. How could the young Marquis Gu Yunzhou, a relative of the imperial family, knowingly break the law and shelter the daughter of a convicted traitor? What are his intentions? Is this contempt for the law or dissatisfaction with the court? A charge like that was enough to bring the entire Chengan Marquis Manor to ruin. My hands trembled slightly as I held the newspaper. Was this the surprise Xiao Jue had for me? He didn't just want to destroy Gu Yunzhou, he wanted to destroy the entire Marquis Manor. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was going in for the kill. I suddenly thought of the cold, ruthless look in his eyes last night when he snapped Gu Yunzhou's wrist. This man was far more vicious and merciless than I had ever imagined. Just then, a commotion broke out outside. Qingque poked her head out to look, then came running back with a pale face. "Boss, something's wrong. The Imperial Guards have surrounded the Chengan Marquis Manor." The Imperial Guards surrounded the Marquis Manor. The news swept through the entire capital city like a hurricane in an instant. I sat in the back courtyard of the glass workshop, listening to the clamoring rumors outside. Yet my heart was completely calm. All of this was within Xiao Jue's calculations. The exposure of Liu Yingying's true identity was only the beginning. Soon the censorate submitted a memorial impeaching Gu Yunzhou for defying the law and shielding criminals. Right after that, other officials dug up old cases accusing the Chengan Marquis Manor of using their power and influence over the years to seize farmland and oppress common people. One case after another, all with solid evidence. When the wall falls, everyone gives it a push. Those nobles who had been on good terms with the Marquis Manor in the past now kept their distance, afraid of getting burned. His Majesty flew into a rage and ordered a thorough investigation. For a time, the Chengan Marquis Manor was teetering on the edge. I thought I would be happy, watching those who had once trampled me underfoot finally get what was coming to them. But my heart was like a dried-up well, not a single ripple to be stirred. Perhaps from the moment I signed that divorce document and walked out the gates of the Marquis Manor, those people and those things had truly nothing to do with me anymore. My glass workshop continued to operate as usual, thanks to the stunning impression I had made at the Empress Dowager's birthday banquet. My business was even more booming than before. Countless high-ranking officials and nobles came bearing gold and silver to buy my work, and some were even willing to pay 10,000 taels of gold just to meet me once. All of them were turned away one by Qingque. I was busy firing new glassware and designing new patterns, too busy to think about the past. Until that day, someone I never expected showed up at the glassware workshop. It was the old Marchioness, Gu Yunzhou's mother, 3 years ago. She had sat high and mighty in the seat of honor at the Marquis' Manor, accepting my tea offering. Back then she was graceful and magnificent, full of spirit. But now she was dressed in plain clothes with all her hairpins and jewelry removed. And in just a few short days she seemed to have aged by more than 10 years. She came alone. Without any attendants, Qingque had wanted to stop her, but I held her back. I invited her into the private room in the back courtyard and personally brewed her a cup of tea. She looked at me with a complicated expression: regret, reluctance, and pleading all at once. "I came today to ask a favor of you." She got straight to the point, her voice hoarse. I said nothing, just watched her quietly. The Marquis Manor can barely hold on anymore. Yunzhou has been thrown into the Ministry of Justice's prison. His Majesty says that unless someone can be found to plead for him, he'll be executed in 3 days. I picked up my teacup and took a gentle sip. It was good tea pre-rain Longjing, slightly bitter on the first taste with a sweet lingering finish. "My lady, you've come to the wrong person. I'm nothing but a merchant woman now, of low standing and little influence. How could I possibly sway His Majesty's decision?" She seemed to have anticipated I would say exactly that. She tremblingly pulled a brocade box from her chest and pushed it toward me. "This is the Marquis Manor's Commander Seal, personally bestowed by the founding emperor. Whoever holds the seal is as good as the emperor himself. It can spare you from death once. The late Marquis entrusted it to me on his deathbed, and I've kept it on my person ever since. Now I'm giving it to you." My heart jolted at the sight of that brocade box. The Marquis of Chengan Manor's immunity token. She actually wanted to give it to me. I don't need it. I pushed the brocade box back. I have nothing to do with the Marquis Manor anymore. The old Marchioness shuddered at those words. 2 lines of cloudy tears slid down from the corners of her wrinkled eyes. She suddenly rose to her feet and dropped straight to her knees before me. "Shenron." "No, Miss Shen. I'm begging you. Please save Yunzhou. I know we wronged you. 3 years ago we were blind fools and made you suffer so terribly. But Yunzhou is still my son. I can't just stand by and watch him die." She knelt on the ground weeping, tears streaming down her aged face, her voice cracking and hoarse. Every trace of her former dignity and composure gone. I didn't move to help her up, I just watched her coldly. "My lady, what are you doing? I can't accept this bow from you. When you all forced me to sign the divorce document and drove me out of the Marquis Manor back then, did you ever think this day would come? When Gu Yunzhou treated me like trash for the sake of his beloved, did he ever think there'd come a day he'd have to beg me?" Every word I said was like a knife stabbing into her heart. Her crying gradually faded, replaced by a dead silence of despair. She lifted her head, that aged face full of pleading. "I know you hate us, but I know you can save him, the Prince of Qin. It is His Highness, the Prince of Qin. Everyone says you're the Prince of Qin's person. Go beg His Highness, the Prince of Qin. He'll definitely listen to you, as long as you're willing to save Yunzhou. You can have this old life of mine." I laughed so hard I nearly cried. The Prince of Qin's person. What a pretty way to put it. In the eyes of those powerful nobles, I was nothing more than a plaything of Xiao Jie's, a chess piece, one that could be sacrificed at any moment. "My lady, you think too highly of me and too little of the Prince of Qin. This whole mess started because of him. Do you really think he'd let his political enemy go for the sake of a nobody merchant girl like me?" The last trace of colour drained from the old Marchioness's face. She slumped to the ground, muttering to herself, "It is over, all over." I watched her look of despair and felt not a shred of pity. "You reap what you sow." I stood up and made to see her out. "My lady, please leave. The Liuli Pavilion does not welcome anyone from the Marquis' Manor." Just as I turned around, she suddenly lunged at me like a madwoman and grabbed onto my legs. "No, you can't leave. Shenron, I'll tell you a secret. A secret about Yunzhou. Hear me out before you decide whether to save him." I frowned and stopped in my tracks. "What secret?" Her eyes took on a strange, manic look. She leaned close to my ear and said something in a voice only the two of us could hear. "Yunzhou has always had feelings for you. 3 years ago, that divorce document he gave you wasn't what he wanted. He did it to protect you, to protect me." That was honestly the funniest joke I'd ever heard in my life. I looked at the old Marchioness's face, twisted with agitation, and found the whole thing utterly absurd. "My lady, are you so sick you've lost your mind? Do you really think I'd believe something like that? He is the one who threw a divorce document at me on our wedding night. He is the one who said his heart belonged to someone else, and he is the one who drove me out of the Marquis Manor and left me to fend for myself. And now you're telling me he did all of that to protect me? Do you think I'm 3 years old?" My tone was dripping with contempt, but the old Marchioness was like someone clutching the last lifeline, gripping the hem of my clothes for dear life. "It is true, absolutely true. Yunzhou had his reasons. Do you know who Liu Yingying is? She is a spy planted by Du Kangguo to keep watch on Yunzhou. Du Kangguo had been trying to rope in the Marquis Manor, but was turned down by the old Marquis, so they used this honey trap. Yunzhou figured it out long ago, but couldn't make a scene. He could only play along and pretend to be obsessed with Liu Yingying to throw them off. He knew that once you married in, Du Kangguo would definitely come after you. To keep you safe, he had no choice but to use this method to drive you away. He was afraid you couldn't handle the blow, so he even prepared 10,000 taels of gold as compensation. After that night, he sat alone in his study all night long. He keeps your portrait hidden in a secret compartment in the study and looks at it several times every day. These past 3 years, he has had people searching everywhere for news of you. He just didn't dare go see you. He was afraid of bringing danger to you. The old Marchioness said a great deal in one breath, and every single word hit my ears like a thunderclap. My mind went completely blank, Gu Yunzhou. He was all of this just one big scheme. No, impossible. This had to be a lie the old Marchioness made up to get me to save him. I pried her fingers off me one by one, forcing her grip loose. "My lady, that is quite a story. Too bad I'm not here to listen to stories. Whether your son lives or dies is none of my concern. Please see yourself out. I issued my order to leave, my tone ice cold and completely devoid of feeling. The old marchioness looked at me, the last flicker of hope in her eyes giving way to utter despair. She knew I wasn't going to help her anymore. She staggered to her feet and walked out in a daze. When she reached the door, she turned back and gave me a long, deep look, her eyes filled with endless sorrow. Shenron, you'll regret this. You just let go of the person in this world who loves you most. With that, she hobbled away and disappeared from my sight. I stood alone in the private room for a long time. Sunlight filtered through the latticed window and cast dappled shadows across me. But my heart felt like it was blocked by a huge stone, heavy and suffocating. The old marchioness's words circled in my mind like a curse. He said he was protecting me. He said he had feelings for me. He said I'd let go of the person who loved me most. Absurd. Laughable. I shook my head, trying to fling those stray thoughts out of my mind. What did it matter to me whether Go Yunjo loved me or not? My life had already turned to a new chapter. I wouldn't and couldn't look back. Just then, Qing Kui came rushing in again. Boss, this is bad. His Highness, the Prince of Qin, is here. My heart clenched. Xiao Jue. Why would he come here? I walked quickly to the front hall. There was Xiao Jue, dressed in plain clothes, sprawled in the seat of honor like he owned the place, drinking tea all by himself. The customers in the shop had all been cleared out, and a few guards from the Prince of Qin's estate stood expressionless at the door. I stepped forward and gave a small curtsy. What brings your Highness here? He set down his teacup and looked up at me. His gaze was sharper than ever, as if he could see right through me. I heard the old marchioness came to find you. My heart sank. His information network was really something, yes. I didn't hide it. She begged me to go save Gu Yunjo. You agreed? No. My answer was clean and simple. Only then did Xiao Jue's expression ease up a little. He stood up and walked over to me. Smart of you. Gu Yunjo has to die, and no one gets to stand in the way. His words were like a blade coated in ice, cold enough to cut to the bone. I looked at him and suddenly asked, why? What kind of deep grudge do you have with the Marquis' manor? You want them all dead? A complicated emotion I couldn't read flashed through Xiao Jue's eyes. He didn't answer my question. Instead, he reached out and gently stroked my cheek. His fingertips were ice cold, like a snake, sending a chill straight through me. You don't need to know why. All you need to know is that from now on, you're mine. In your heart and in your eyes, there can only be me. As for Gu Yunjo, he leaned close to my ear and said softly in a tone that was almost cruel, I'll make you watch him die with your own eyes. His words made my whole body go cold. This man was a lunatic. I shoved him away hard and stepped back. Xiao Jue, who do you think you are? What gives you the right to control my life like this? My emotions were spiraling out of control. 3 years of holding back and pretending came crashing down in that moment. Xiao Jue looked at me and not only wasn't angry, he actually smiled a smile that was wicked and dangerous. This is why. He reached into his chest and pulled something out, tossing it onto the table in front of me. It was a small wooden tablet wrapped in fine silk. My hands trembled as I unwrapped the silk. When I saw the characters carved into the tablet, my pupils suddenly contracted. A name was carved on it, clear as day, not mine, not Gu Yunjo's, but the names of my parents who had long since died. On the back of the tablet was a blood-red brand, the character for prisoner. I collapsed to the ground as if struck by lightning. You? What do you mean? My voice was shaking so badly I could barely get the words out. Xiao Jue crouched down to meet my eyes at the same level. He gently lifted my chin with his hand, forcing me to look into his eyes. It means your parents aren't dead. They're in my hands. Xiao Jue's words exploded in my mind like a thunderclap. Every shred of reason, every bit of pretense, I had it all crumbled in that moment. I stared hard at him, my eyes shot through with red. No, that is impossible. My parents died in an accident. 3 years ago, burned alive in a fire. I saw it with my own eyes. It was the deepest wound in my heart. 3 years ago, not long after I was driven out of the Marquis Manor, I received an urgent letter from my hometown saying that the silk shop my parents ran had caught fire in the night. By the time I rushed back, all I saw was a stretch of charred ruins and 2 bodies burned beyond recognition. I mourned for them for 49 days straight. I thought I was truly alone in this world, but now Xiao Jue is telling me they didn't die. How is that possible? You're lying to me. I screamed like a beast, backed into a corner. Xiao Jie, just to control me. You'd use my dead parents to trick me. You bastard. I lunged at him like a madwoman, clawing at him, biting him, throwing every last bit of strength I had into it. But my struggling was like an ant trying to shake a tree in front of him. He pinned my hands down with ease and pressed me hard against the ground. Shenron, calm down. His voice carried anger for the first time. Do you think this king has the spare time to make up this kind of lie to trick you? He reached into his chest and pulled out another object, tossing it in front of me. It was a jade hairpin my mother never went anywhere without. I knew the look of that hairpin better than anything. I'd bought it for her with the very first money I ever earned. I froze, and my struggling stopped. Xiao Jue let go of me and stood up, looking down at me from above. The fire 3 years ago was no accident. It was set by the Duke of Angwo's men. Their target was you. They figured that after being driven out of the Marquis Manor, you'd go back to your hometown to rely on your parents. So they wanted to cut out the roots. My people got there one step ahead and pulled your parents out, then staged their deaths to make it look real. I sat there on the ground in a daze, my mind a complete mess. The Duke of Angwo again. Why? I murmured. Why did you save them? Xiao Jue's eyes turned deep and unreadable. Because from the moment you stepped out of the Marquis Manor, you were mine, my people. I naturally protect. Your parents are the last way out I kept for you and the last card I hold to keep you in line. He didn't bother hiding his intentions at all. Naked and cruel. I suddenly understood from 3 years ago I had already been living inside the web he wove. The freedom I thought I had, the new life I thought I'd built, it was nothing but a mirage he allowed me to see. Everything about me was under his watch and control. He watched me grow step by step, watched me build my own glass workshop, like a skilled hunter watching his prey grow stronger inside his trap, thinking it was all on its own. Then he pulled the net shut at the most critical moment. I laughed a laugh that looked worse than crying. Xiao Jue, you really do have some impressive tricks. I slowly got up from the ground, brushed the dust off my clothes, and picked up the prisoner's tag carved with my parents' names, and that jade hairpin. I looked at him with no emotion left in my eyes. Where are they? I want to see them. Xiao Jie shook his head. Not yet. Wait until Gu Yunzhou is dead. Wait until the Marquis Manor falls. Wait until the Duke of Angwo faces justice. I'll let you reunite with them. Until then, they'll be perfectly safe. But on one condition, he stared at me and said, word by word, you need to behave. Behave, what a grating pair of words. I tightened my grip on the wooden tag and the hairpin in my hand, my nails nearly digging into my flesh. I knew I had no choice. For Mum and Dad, I could only become the most obedient blade in his hand. What do you want me to do? I asked. He was very pleased with my compliance, the corner of his mouth curling into a victorious smile. Simple. In 3 days, Gu Yunzhou will be executed. I want you to go to the execution ground and personally send him off. I want everyone in the capital city to see how you, the discarded wife he threw away, smile like a blooming flower at his chopping block. I want to pave a true path of rebirth for you with his blood. His words sent a chill rising from the very bottom of my heart. He wanted to kill a man, and more than that, he wanted to destroy his soul. He wanted to utterly crush Gu Yunzhou in the most brutal way possible, and crush the last shred of dignity the Marquis Manor had left. Also wants to use this method to declare to everyone, I, Shenruan, am his Prince Qin's person. Touch me, and you make an enemy of him. All right, I heard my own voice, calm as a pool of stagnant water. I agree. 3 days later, outside the Meridian Gate of Capital City, crowds packed the streets and every alley was empty. Today was the day the legitimate son of the Marquis Manor of Chenggen, Gu Yunzhou, was to be executed. I sat in a private room on the 2nd floor of a tavern closest to the execution platform. This spot had been specially arranged for me by Xiao Ju. The view was perfect, letting me see everything on the execution platform clear as day. I wore a fiery red long dress, the hem embroidered with large blooming peonies in gold thread, blazing and gorgeous beyond compare. I had put on delicate makeup, lips of vivid red, brows and eyes like a painting, beautiful like a hell flower blooming on the chopping block. This was Xiao Jue's demand. He said he wanted me to witness my enemy's death in my most beautiful form. I looked at the dark mass of people below, their faces carrying excitement, curiosity, and numbness. To them, this was nothing more than a rare bit of excitement, something to gossip about over meals. No one would care how glorious that man who was about to die had once been. At the third quarter of the noon hour, the heavy sound of drums rang out. A prison cart slowly rolled in under the escort of the Imperial Guards. Inside the prison cart knelt a man with disheveled hair and ragged clothes. It was Gu Yunzhou. In just a few short days he had wasted away to skin and bones, his former handsomeness and pride reduced to this moment of wretchedness and despair. He was dragged up onto the execution platform and forced to kneel on the cold stone slabs. The executioner stood behind him, holding a gleaming broadsword. The supervising official finished reading out the charges and threw down the token. The hour has come, carry out the sentence. Just as the executioner raised the blade, Gu Yunzhou suddenly lifted his head. His gaze cut through the packed crowd and landed precisely on the tavern where I stood, landing on me a woman dressed head to toe in red. Our eyes met. I watched as a fierce, blazing light I couldn't quite read erupted in an instant from his clouded eyes. Shock, pain, regret, and relief. His lips moved without a sound, I understood. He was saying, "Heroine, run." My heart gave a violent lurch. Why? He was about to die. Why was he still telling me to run? Could it be that the old Marchioness was telling the truth? That everything he did really was to protect me? That thought drove itself into my heart like a poisoned thorn. I tightened my grip on the wine cup on the table, my knuckles going white from the force. No, I couldn't believe that. This had to be the last act he was putting on before his death, just to make me feel guilty, to make me uneasy. I forced myself to slowly curl the corners of my lips at him, letting a smile spread across my face, brilliant and ice-cold all at once. I want him to see. I'm doing just fine, even better without him. He saw my smile. His body shuddered violently, and the last flicker of light in his eyes went out completely. He slowly closed his eyes, yet a strange smile lingered on his face. Stay the blade. At that very moment, a piercing shriek tore through the sky. A woman in prison clothes came charging out of the crowd like a madwoman and threw herself at the execution platform. It was Liu Yingying. Wasn't she supposed to be locked up in the Ministry of Justice prison? How did she end up here? She rushed onto the execution platform and clutched Gu Yunzhou in a death grip. No, you can't kill him. He is innocent. Everything he did, he was forced into it. It was Duke Anguo. Duke Anguo forced him to do it. She was raving like a madwoman, her words a jumbled mess. The Imperial Guard stepped forward to pull her away, but she reached into her chest and pulled something out, a letter wrapped in oil paper. This is a letter written in Gu Yunzhou's own hand. It has all the evidence of Duke Anguo's crimes. He wanted to expose Duke Anguo long ago. He has been waiting for the right moment, please. Just read this letter, read this letter. She wailed and held the letter high above her head. The supervising execution official froze, and the crowd erupted into an uproar. Every eye was fixed on that letter. I sat up in the restaurant watching this sudden scene unfold, my whole body gone cold. Liu Yingying. She actually, just then, several poisoned arrows suddenly shot out from the crowd, aimed straight at Liu Yingying. Obviously, Duke Anguo's men were trying to silence her, protect the witness. The supervising official bellowed. But it was already too late. The arrows were about to hit Liu Yingying when Gu Yunzhou, who had been kneeling on the ground the whole time, found strength from God knows where, and shot to his feet, throwing his body in front of her. Thud, thud, thud. Several poisoned arrows buried themselves deep into his back. He let out a muffled groan. His body swayed, and then he slowly collapsed, falling into Liu Ying's arms. His eyes were still looking in my direction. I will never forget that look. There was longing, there was reluctance, there was relief, and a silent lip movement. Live, live well. Gu Yunzhou was dead. He died right in front of me, in a way I had never imagined. He wasn't beheaded by the executioner's blade, he died under a hail of arrows, protecting that so-called love of his life. His last lip movement before death, "Live well," was branded deep into my mind like a searing mark. I sat there without moving. The wine cup in my hand had shattered at some point, and the sharp ceramic shards had sliced open my palm. Blood dripped down. one drop at a time, onto my bright red skirt. Yet I couldn't feel any pain at all. Downstairs had already descended into chaos. Liu Yingying clutched Gu Yunzhou's body and wept with gut-wrenching sobs. The letter in her hand snatched away by the execution supervisor. The Imperial Guards and Duke Anguo's assassins broke into a fierce fight in the crowd. A public execution had turned into a bloody slaughter. The door to the private room was pushed open, and Xiao Jue walked in. He looked at my dazed, hollow expression and my blood-soaked hands, his brow knitting tightly together. What happened? He came over and grabbed my hand to check the wound. I yanked my hand back like I'd been burned. Don't touch me. I raised my head, my eyes red and raw, glaring at him hard. Was all of this your doing? Liu Yingying showing up. That letter, those assassins. Was that all your handiwork? Zhao Zhou's expression darkened. His answer was simple, but I knew he was lying, without his consent or even his arrangement. How could Liu Yingying, a prisoner, have escaped from the Ministry of Justice's jail? And how could that letter have shown up so conveniently at the most critical moment? Xiao Jie, I stood up and closed in on him step by step. Why did you do this? Gu Yunzhou was already going to die. Why did you still have to humiliate him like this? To torment me? You made me watch with my own eyes as he died for another woman. You made me feel like a complete and utter fool. Do you think this is funny? My voice trembled with emotion, and tears spilled out against my will. I don't know if I'm grieving for Gu Yunzhou's death, or mourning my own fate of being fooled and trolled. Xiao Ju looked at me, a flicker of complicated emotions, crossing his eyes, tenderness, helplessness, and rage. I said it wasn't me. Liu Yingying's appearance was an accident, but it was a good one. The letter in her hands is the most damning evidence against Duke Anguo. Gu Yunzhou traded his death for that letter. He died for a reason. He said it so casually, as if what died wasn't a person but an ant. I stared at his cold, heartless face and felt my heart sink bit by bit. This man had no heart. In his world there was only scheming, only gain, only winning and losing. What about the old Marchioness's words? I suddenly remembered something and grabbed the front of his robe, screaming hysterically. She said everything Gu Yunzhou did was to protect me, that he had feelings for me. Did you put her up to that too? Did you send her to trick me, to make me waver, and then make me watch with my own eyes as he died for someone else? You just wanted to see me suffer, wanted to see me fall apart, didn't you? My accusations were like daggers, one after another, stabbing into him. Xiao Jie's expression completely changed. He grabbed my wrist with a grip that was shockingly strong. What did she say to you? His voice was frighteningly dark. I looked at him and suddenly laughed, a wild, unhinged laugh. What did she say? She told you the secret you least wanted me to know. She said Gu Yunzhou loves me. He was putting on an act from beginning to end. Xiao Jie, are you disappointed? You schemed so hard to make me hate him, to make me send him off with my own hands, and instead I found out the truth. You lost. Smack! A sharp slap landed hard across my face. The blow sent me stumbling and I fell to the ground. My cheek burned with a stinging pain and a trickle of blood seeped from the corner of my mouth. I pressed my hand to my face and stared at him in disbelief. He hit me. Xiao Ju stood there, his chest heaving violently. His eyes blazed with towering fury and the humiliated rage of someone whose true motives had just been called out. Shen Rowan, listen to me carefully. Whether Gu Yunzhou loves you or not doesn't matter in the slightest. What matters is that he is dead. From now on you belong to me and only to me. If you dare mention him again, even half a word, he crouched down and gripped my chin, forcing me to look up at him. This king wouldn't mind letting you find out what it truly means to wish you were dead. His threat sent a chill through every inch of my body. I looked at his face, so close to mine, and at the manic possessiveness burning in his eyes. I suddenly realized a terrifying truth. I had escaped Gu Yunzhou's cage only to fall into Xiao Jie's abyss deeper and darker than anything before. Just then, the door to the private room was pushed open again. A guard from the Prince of Qin's manor burst in, his face full of panic. Your Highness, something terrible has happened. Word has come from the palace. The Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager has passed. Xiao Jie's body went rigid all at once. He let go of me and shot to his feet. What did you say? The Empress Dowager had her throat cut by a shard of glass. The shard was identified. The guard's voice trembled so badly it was barely coherent. It fell from that 9-turn Linlong tower. The Empress Dowager was dead, killed by a shard from the 9-turn Linlong tower I had fired with my own hands. The news hit me like a sledgehammer, slamming straight into my chest. I crumpled to the ground, the blood in my entire body feeling as though it had frozen solid in an instant. How could this be? That glass tower was my life's work. I had checked every single detail countless times. It was solid as could be. There was no way it would shatter for no reason, let alone become a murder weapon. This had to be a conspiracy, a massive conspiracy aimed at the Prince of Qin and at me. Zhao Jie's expression had gone so dark it looked like it could drip water. He didn't spare me another glance, just turned and walked out. Lock down the scene and investigate this thoroughly. Not even a fly gets out. His voice carried the force of thunder. The entire capital city was instantly blanketed by a suffocating air of deadly tension. I was escorted back to the glass workshop by 2 guards from the Prince of Qin's manor, or rather, placed under house arrest. Liu Lifang was surrounded airtight, and I became the prime suspect, a canary trapped in a cage. I sat on the stone bench in the backyard, watching the dark clouds rolling at the horizon, my mind a mess. The Empress Dowager's death was far too suspicious, and the timing far too coincidental. It just had to happen on the same day Gu Yunzhou was executed, and it just had to use the glass pagoda I gave her. All of this was like a carefully woven net, trapping the Prince of Qin, trapping me, trapping the Duke of Angguo, and even trapping the already dead Gu Yunzhou firmly inside. Who on earth was it? Who had the power to assassinate the Empress Dowager right inside the imperial palace? And who had the cunning to lay out such an intricate chain-linked scheme? The Duke of Angguo. He did have a motive. The Empress Dowager was the Prince of Qin's biggest backer. With her dead, the Prince of Qin's influence at court would take a devastating blow. But he'd already been cornered by that letter Gu Yunzhou left before his death. At this point, he should have his hands full just keeping himself afloat. How could he spare any attention to assassinate the Empress Dowager? If it wasn't him, then who? Countless faces flashed through my mind. But in the end, they all froze on that face, the Son of Heaven, who always wore a gentle smile. The reigning emperor, Zhao Jie's own older brother, an emperor who seemed to trust and rely on this younger brother of his without reservation. A thought burrowed into my heart like a viper, sending a chill down my spine. The art of rulership lies in balance. The Prince of Qin commanded heavy troops and had achievements that overshadowed the throne. The Duke of Angguo held the court in his grip and had grown too powerful to rein in. Only when 2 tigers fight can the emperor reap the benefits. But now Duke Angguo is about to fall, and the Prince of Qin stands alone at the top. Is this really the situation the emperor wants to see? Maybe what he needs isn't a winner, but a new force that can keep standing up against the Prince of Qin, or use this chance to pull the Prince of Qin out by the roots. The more I think about it, the colder my heart gets. If that is really the case, then this tiny little pawn of mine is going to get ground to dust in this earth-shattering game. No, I can't just sit here and wait to die. I can't put my life, my mum and dad's lives, all in Zhao Jie's hands. I have to save myself. I started calmly analyzing the situation in front of me. My position right now is extremely dangerous. As the maker of the glass pagoda, I'm the #1 suspect in the Empress Dowager's death. Zhao Jie might throw me out as a scapegoat at any moment to protect himself. My only way out is to prove my innocence, prove that the glass pagoda had no problem. And the problem came from somewhere else. I stood up and started pacing around the courtyard, my mind racing at full speed. Glass shards. Just what kind of shard could slash a person's throat open? It'd have to be extremely sharp and extremely hard. The glass I fired is clear, but on the brittle side, when it takes a hit, it breaks into small, blunt-edged pieces. There is no way it could form a sharp edge like a blade, unless the shard that killed her wasn't even the glass I fired at all. But someone used something else disguised to look like glass. What could be disguised as glass, and still be hard enough and sharp enough? A flash of inspiration struck my mind. I thought of it. A kind of transparent crystal stone tributed from the western regions called diamond. Its hardness far surpasses steel, and its luster is extremely similar to glass. If it were ground into thin slices and mixed into the decorations of the glass pagoda, It would be nearly impossible to tell apart with the naked eye, and once shattered, its broken edges would form blades that could cut through anything. The blood all through my body began to boil. I found it. I found the key to breaking out of this situation. But how was I supposed to get this discovery out to the outside world? How was I supposed to prove my deduction? I was trapped here, unable to move a single step. Just as I was burning with anxiety, Cinque walked in carrying a bowl of lotus seed soup. She saw me and her eyes went red. "Boss, are you all right?" She'd been scared out of her wits these past few days too. Looking at her worried face, a bold plan suddenly took shape in my mind. I grabbed her hand and led her to the corner of the room, lowering my voice to whisper a few words in her ear. After she heard me out, her face went deathly pale and she stared at me in horror. "Boss, this is way too dangerous. If you get caught, you'll lose your life." I tightened my grip on her hand, my eyes firm. "Cinque, right now you're the only one who can help me. This is my only way out. Are you scared?" Cinque looked at me, her lips trembling. Finally, she shook her head hard. "This servant isn't scared. The shopkeeper saved this servant's life. So this life belongs to you. Just tell me what you need me to do." I reached into my chest and pulled something out, pressing it into her hand. It was the white jade pendant engraved with the character Xiao that the Prince of Qin had given me. I pressed the jade pendant firmly into Cinque's hand. "Cinque, listen carefully tonight at the third watch. Take this jade pendant and go to this place." I leaned close to her ear and told her an address. "Once you're there, hand the jade pendant to the steward. He'll take you to see someone when you see him. Don't say a word, just give him this note." I pulled a note I'd already written from my sleeve and handed it to Cinque. The note had only 3 characters on it: diamond. Cinque carefully tucked the jade pendant and the note into her chest and gave a firm nod. "Shopkeeper, don't you worry. Even if it costs this servant her life, I'll get it delivered." Looking at her young but resolute face, a wave of warmth washed over me. "Be careful." I only said those 2 words because I knew this errand was as good as a death sentence. Night fell. I sat by the window watching the guards on patrol outside, my heart lodged in my throat. I was gambling that Xiao Jie still had a shred of feeling for me and wouldn't slaughter everyone around me, and gambling that the person I'd sent Cinque to meet would be willing to pull me out of this mess. At the third watch of the night, a faint sound came from the woodshed in the back courtyard. I knew it was Cinque who had left. She used the secret passage of the glassworks that I had taught her to slip away from everyone's eyes and ears. All I could do now was wait for dawn, wait for judgment. That night felt especially long. I didn't sleep a wink, running through every possible scenario in my head over and over. What if Cinque got caught? What if that person refused to help me? The sky grew light, little by little, when the first rays of morning light fell into my room. The gates of the glassworks were slammed open with a crash. A squad of men in flying fish robes with embroidered spring blades at their waists came rushing in. The embroidered uniform guard, leading them, was a middle-aged man with a sinister face, Luchuan, commander of the embroidered uniform guard, a living Hell King who answered only to the Emperor. When he saw me, a cruel, cold smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Shen Ruan, by imperial decree, you are hereby arrested as a wanted criminal of the court. Come with us." I didn't resist. I calmly held out both hands. I knew this day would come sooner or later. I was loaded onto a prison cart and escorted to Zhao prison. The people of Capital City lined both sides of the street, pointing and whispering at me. "Look, that is the witch. I heard she used dark magic to kill the Empress Dowager. What a vicious, cold-blooded woman." All kinds of filth and slurs came hurling at me like stones. I kept my face blank and paid them no mind, but inside I was laughing coldly. The ignorant masses, they'll always only believe what those in power want them to believe. Zhao prison is hell on earth, dark and damp, reeking of blood and rot. I was thrown into a water dungeon at the deepest end. Ice-cold, filthy water mixed with waste flooded up to my shins, while rats and cockroaches crawled freely along the walls. I curled up in the corner, cold and starving, yet my heart was calmer than it had ever been. Because I knew my piece had already been placed now, it was just a matter of watching how my opponent would respond. I don't know how much time passed before the cell door was finally opened. Luchuan walked in, 2 jailers following behind him, holding red-hot branding irons and spiked leather whips. Shen Rowan, your accomplices have already confessed. He crouched down and looked at me like he was sizing up a lamb ready for slaughter. Go on, tell me who put you up to harming the Empress Dowager. Was it the King of Qin? I raised my head and looked at him. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no accomplices, and I never harmed the Empress Dowager. I've been wrongly accused. Lu Chuan let out a cold laugh. Wrongly accused. Nobody who ends up here is innocent. Looks like you won't talk unless I put you through some real torture. He waved his hand, and the two jailers came toward me with vicious grins. I shut my eyes and braced myself for the torment that was about to come. Just then, a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the cell. A eunuch's sharp, shrill voice cut through the dead silence of the dungeon. Imperial edict arrives. Lu Chuan froze mid-motion. He furrowed his brow, turned around and knelt to receive the edict. I slowly opened my eyes too. I saw a senior eunuch in a python-embroidered robe holding a scroll of bright yellow Imperial edict, standing at the cell door. It was Eunuch Wang, the most favored attendant at the Emperor's side. By the grace of heaven, the Emperor decrees the condemned Shen Rowan, suspected of treason and guilty of the gravest crimes, ought to be executed by slow slicing. However, in consideration of her merit in offering the pagoda, we cannot bring ourselves to kill indiscriminately. She is hereby granted 3 days, after which she shall confront the Duke of Angwo's faction face-to-face outside the Meridian Gate. If she can prove her innocence, she shall be released without charge. If she cannot, she shall share the Duke of Angwo's guilt and her entire household shall be executed. So decreed. Eunuch Wang finished reading the Imperial edict, rolled it shut, and without so much as a glance at Lu Chuan, walked straight up to me. Miss Shen, this way, please. His Majesty is waiting for you in the palace. I was stunned. I hadn't expected the Emperor to issue an edict like this. A face-to-face confrontation proved my own innocence. What the hell was he playing at? Lu Chuan's expression had turned absolutely ugly. The Emperor's move was clearly snatching someone right out of his embroidered guard's hands, a naked show of distrust. But he didn't dare defy the Imperial edict and could only watch helplessly as I was led out of Zhao prison by Eunuch Wang. The moment I saw daylight again, I greedily breathed in the fresh air. I glanced back at that Zhao prison, looming like the gates of hell. I knew I'd won the first move. My chess piece had done its job. The Emperor was going to step in personally. I was brought into the Imperial Palace, not the grand and gilded Hall of Supreme Harmony, but a simple, quiet, warm chamber. The reigning Emperor Xiaoyan was sitting right there. He wasn't wearing his dragon robes. Just an ordinary bright yellow casual robe, leisurely sipping tea. He looked much younger than I'd imagined, his features gentle, with a faint resemblance to Xiao Jue around the eyes and brows, yet without Xiao Jue's sharp edge and dominance, carrying instead a refined scholarly air. If I hadn't known who he was, I'd have almost taken him for a warm and graceful young man from a noble family. But I knew that no one who'd made it to that seat was simple. Behind the gentlest smile, there is almost always the coldest blade. I knelt and bowed. This guilty subject, Shen Rowan, pays respects to your Majesty. I knelt on the ground, while the Emperor unhurriedly finished his cup of tea. After a long while, he finally spoke, his voice as gentle as a spring breeze. Miss Shen, raise your head and let me have a look at you. I slowly lifted my head and met those eyes of his, deep and fathomless. I hear you're a clever woman. He set down his teacup, fingers tapping lightly on the table. Clever enough to fire a divine object like the 9-turn Linlong Tower, and clever enough to go from a cast-off wife to the richest person in Capital City in 3 years. His tone carried admiration, yet it sent a chill down my spine. But what I don't understand is why someone so clever would do something so stupid. Plotting against the Empress Dowager, what did you think you'd gain? I took a deep breath. Your Majesty, please see clearly, this consort never had any intention of harming the Empress Dowager. That glass tower was made with every ounce of this consort's heart and soul. Every inch, every corner was inspected by this consort's own hands. It could not have shattered without cause, let alone become a murder weapon. Oh, the Emperor raised an eyebrow. So you're saying someone framed you? Exactly, I said without hesitation. This consort suspects the culprit used diamond disguised as glass shards to commit the act. Diamond is far harder than glass, and its fracture edge is sharp as a blade. If your majesty doesn't believe it, you may have someone compare that weapon with the glass this consort fired. The truth will speak for itself. A flash of surprise crossed the emperor's eyes, then he smiled. Interesting. I hadn't even asked yet, and you already volunteered where the flaw lies. It seems you really did your homework. He stood up, clasped his hands behind his back, and walked to the window. But do you know, just last night the embroidered uniform guard confirmed that the murder weapon was indeed no ordinary glass, but a diamond tributed from the western regions. My heart gave a violent lurch. Confirmed. That farce. Since your majesty has already uncovered the truth, why still keep you locked up? The emperor turned around, the warmth on his face fading away, replaced by the authority of a sovereign. Because I want to see how the people behind you will react. He walked toward me step by step. Shenron, who do you think you're a pawn of, the Prince of Qin's, Duke Angguo's, or mine? His words were like a bucket of ice water poured over me from head to toe. My whole body went rigid, and I couldn't get out a single word. Let me tell you a secret. The emperor crouched down to meet my eyes at the same level. That fire 3 years ago, the one who saved your parents, wasn't the Prince of Qin. It was me. I've long been waiting for someone like you, someone who could make the Prince of Qin fall for them. My pupils contracted sharply. Impossible, Xiao Jie clearly said. Xiao Jie thinks he has everything under control, not realizing he has been on my chessboard from the very beginning. The emperor's smile carried a streak of cruelty. Your parents are right here in the palace now, being kept very well. I originally planned to tell you the truth once your relationship with the Prince of Qin had gone further, but I didn't expect the Empress Dowager's death to throw off my plans. He stood up and looked down at me. Now we give you 2 choices. Keep working for the Prince of Qin, help clear his name at the confrontation 3 days from now, and we will keep your parents safe. 2. Come to our side, testify in 3 days that the Prince of Qin conspired with Duke Angguo to harm the Empress Dowager, and we will not only free your parents but also grant you the title of first-rank lady by imperial decree. I knelt on the ground, my mind a complete mess. Turns out I'd been someone else's chess piece from the very beginning. I thought I was fighting against fate, but all I'd really done was jump out of one cage and into a bigger one. Your Majesty. My voice was hoarse. Why do you want to go after the Prince of Qin? He is your own brother. Emperor let out a cold laugh. Own brother? Since when has family meant anything in this world? There is only power. Xiao Jue commands a massive army, and his achievements overshadow the throne. Half the military generals in court answer to him. If we don't get rid of him, sooner or later he'll come for our throne. He said it so casually, like he was talking about something completely trivial. But Duke Angguo deserves to die too. Emperor cut me off, but we want them to tear each other apart first, and then we step in to clean up what is left. That is the art of ruling. He walked back to his seat and sat down again. Shenron will give you 1 hour to think it over. Come back with your answer when you've made up your mind. I was taken to a side hall by eunuch Wang. 1 hour to make a choice between Xiao Jie and Emperor. But is this really a choice? No matter which one I pick, I'm just a chess piece, one that can be sacrificed at any moment. I sat there as flashes of the past 3 years ran through my mind. Gu Yunzhou's cold-heartedness, Xiao Jie's control, the Emperor's scheming. I thought I could take hold of my own fate, but in the end I found I couldn't even decide whether I lived or died. Just then, the window of the side hall was gently pushed open by someone. A figure in black slipped in without a sound. I was about to cry out when the person pulled down their face covering, revealing a face I knew. It was Qingque, boss, she said in a hushed, urgent voice. I delivered the stuff. His Highness Prince Qin told me to tell you he'll come to save you at the confrontation 3 days from now. He says you have to hold on no matter what. I looked at her, a tangle of emotions welling up inside me. He still came also. Qingque pulled a letter from inside her robe. His Highness asked me to pass this on to you. I took the letter and opened it. There were only a few short lines, yet they hit me like a blow to the chest. Around. Your parents are not in the Emperor's hands, they're with me. It was indeed I who saved them 3 years ago. The Emperor is lying to you. Trust me. Wait for me. The signature was a single character. Ju. The hand holding the letter trembled slightly. Who was the one lying? The emperor or Xiao Ji, or were they both deceiving me? An hour passed quickly. Eunuch Wang appeared at the side hall entrance again. Miss Shen, His Majesty summons you. I tucked that letter into my sleeve and followed him back to the warm chamber. The emperor was still sitting there, a confident smile on his face. Made up your mind, he asked. I knelt down, my voice calm. This concubine wishes to see my parents. Whatever your majesty wants this concubine to do, I want to confirm first whether they are safe. The emperor's smile stiffened for a moment. He hadn't expected me to make this request. You don't trust us. His tone cooled a few degrees. This concubine would not dare. I lowered my head. It is just that this concubine hasn't seen my parents in 3 years, and the longing has made me ill. If I could see them just once, I could die without regret. The emperor stared at me for a long while, then finally waved his hand. Go, bring them here. Eunuch Wang bowed and withdrew. The warm chamber fell into an eerie silence. I knelt there, my heart pounding like a drum. I was gambling betting that the emperor didn't have my parents at all. If he really did, then Xiao Ju had been lying to me. If he didn't, then everything he'd just said was a lie. Time passed, second by second. Eunuch Wang was taking forever to return. The emperor's expression grew darker and darker. Finally, Eunuch Wang came rushing back, his face deathly pale. Your Majesty, the people, they're gone. What? The emperor shot to his feet. How could they be gone? Did we not have you lock them up in the Bureau of Punishment? I have no idea either. When I went to check just now, the cell was already empty. The guards said someone came last night with your imperial decree and took the person away. The emperor's face turned ashen. Imperial decree. When did I ever issue an imperial decree? Bring it here. Eunuch Wang handed over a token with trembling hands. The emperor glanced at it, then slammed the token to the ground. This is a fake. Someone forged my token and broke the person out. He turned to look at me, a terrifying killing intent flashing in his eyes. It is the Prince of Qin. It must be him. I knelt on the ground, yet a feeling I couldn't quite put into words welled up inside me. Xiao Jie, he really didn't lie to me. My parents really are in his hands. Summon come, the emperor roared. Issue the decree, surround the Prince of Qin's manor immediately, kill on sight. Your Majesty, please calm down. I snapped my head up. If your Majesty moves against the Prince of Qin right now, won't that only confirm you have a guilty conscience? How would the confrontation 3 days from now proceed? The emperor froze. He stared at me hard, his chest heaving violently. He knew I was right. Moving against the Prince of Qin now would be telling the whole world he had something to hide. Good, very good. The emperor spoke through gritted teeth. Shenruan, you've successfully made me furious. Since you've chosen to stand on the Prince of Qin's side, don't blame me for showing no mercy. At the confrontation 3 days from now, I will make sure neither of you has a grave to be buried in. He flung his sleeve and stormed off. I slumped to the ground, all the strength drained out of me. I won the bet, but I knew the real danger had only just begun. The emperor wouldn't let me off, and wouldn't let Xiao Ju off either. The confrontation 3 days from now would be a fight for our lives. I was locked back up in Zhao prison, but the treatment was much better this time. At least there was a clean cell and hot food. I knew this was the emperor's doing on purpose. He was keeping me fed, waiting to use me against Xiao Jie in 3 days. In the dead of night, the cell window was pushed open again. This time it wasn't Qingke who came in, but a tall figure dressed in black. He pulled down his face covering, revealing Xiao Jie's handsome yet cold face. Why are you here? I stood up in surprise. The guards here are tight. There is no place in this world that this king cannot go. He cut me off, walked up to me and looked me over carefully. You've suffered. His voice carried a rare hint of tenderness. I turned my face away. What did you come here for? To see if this chess piece of yours still has any use left. Xiao Jue was silent for a moment, then suddenly reached out and pulled me into his arms. I'm sorry, he said in a low voice. I'm the one who dragged you into this. I froze in his arms, not knowing how to react. This was the first time he had ever said sorry to me. Your parents are doing well. I've settled them at a manor outside the city with dedicated caretakers. Once this is over, I'll reunite you with them. He let go of me and pulled a small porcelain vial from his robe. This is an antidote pill. At the confrontation 3 days from now, the Emperor will definitely try to tamper with you. This medicine can counter any poison, keep it hidden. I took the porcelain vial and looked at him. Xiao Ju, tell me the truth. The Empress Dowager's death was that your doing. His eyes flickered for a moment and he finally shook his head. No, but I know who did it. Who? The Emperor. He said it word by word. He wanted to use the Empress Dowager's death to get rid of me and the Duke of Angwo, then seize absolute power for himself. I drew a sharp breath. But why would he kill his own grandmother? Because the Empress Dowager always favored me. She was my greatest backing at court. As long as she was alive, the Emperor couldn't touch me. So he had to get rid of her first. A flash of pain crossed Xiao Jie's eyes. I found out that the one who entered the Empress Dowager's bedchamber that night was Eunuch Wang, the Emperor's most trusted attendant. He disguised diamond shards as glass fragments and slit her throat while she slept. I felt a chill run through my whole body. Then why haven't you exposed him? Evidence. Xiao Ju gave a bitter smile. I have no evidence. Eunuch Wang is dead, found outside the Empress Dowager's bedchamber with his throat cut in a single stroke. Every lead has gone cold. He looked at me. So I need you. The confrontation 3 days from now, I need you to testify against Duke Angwo, to say that he was the one who ordered you to tamper with the glass pagoda. Only by bringing down Duke Angwo will I have a chance to deal with the Emperor. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. So in the end, I'm still just your pawn. Xiao Jie fell silent. After a long while, he finally spoke. Yes, you are my pawn, but you're also the only person I care about. He raised his hand and touched my cheek. Around. I know I've done a lot of things that hurt you, but I promise you once all of this is over, I'll give you your freedom. Wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, I won't hold you back anymore. I looked into his eyes, trying to find even a trace of deception, but all I saw was sincerity and exhaustion. All right, I said. I'll help you, but you have to promise me one thing. What? No matter what happens, keep my parents safe. Xiao Jie nodded. I swear on the name of the Prince of Qin, I will protect your parents and keep them out of harm's way. He turned to leave. But when he reached the window, he looked back. A ruin. 3 days from now, trust me. With that, he leapt out and vanished into the night. I stood in the prison cell, clutching the porcelain vial in my hand, my heart a tangle of emotions. 3 days from now, just what kind of fierce battle would it be? 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. A high platform was set up outside the Meridian Gate. Civil and military officials gathered in full. Commoners crowded around to watch, and the scene was grander than anything before. This was not just a confrontation, it was a public trial. I was escorted up onto the platform, shackles on my hands and feet. Below the platform was a sea of heads. Countless pairs of eyes fixed on me, some curious, some contemptuous, some sympathetic and some gloating. The Emperor sat on the dragon throne in the center, Prince Qin Xiao Jie to the left, and the Duke of Angwo bound with rope to the right. The Duke of Angwo was nothing like his former imposing self. His hair had gone white, and his face was a sickly yellow, clearly having suffered quite a bit in prison. Read the charges, the Emperor said in a low, stern voice. An official from the censorate stepped forward and unrolled a long scroll of charges. Duke of Angwo Xiao Lai colluding with remnants of the former dynasty, embezzling military pay, privately keeping assassins, and plotting rebellion. His associate Gu Yunzhou harbored the daughter of a convicted criminal, compounding his crimes. It has further been determined that the Duke of Angwo ordered the merchant woman Shen Ruan to tamper with the glass pagoda presented to the Empress Dowager, resulting in the death of Her Highness the Empress Dowager. His crimes are heinous beyond measure. His 9 clans shall be exterminated. Each charge landed like a heavy hammer blow on the Duke of Angwo. He knelt there, trembling all over, yet couldn't get out a single word. Duke of Angwo, do you plead guilty? The Emperor asked. The Duke of Angwo raised his head, a flash of viciousness crossing his eyes. I refuse to accept this. I have been completely loyal to Great Zhou. Where does this talk of treason come from? As for the Empress Dowager's death, I am wrongly accused. I have never even met this Shen Ruan. How could I have ordered her to commit murder? The Emperor let out a cold laugh. Never met her. Then let me ask you, that fire at Gu Yunzhou's home 3 years ago, was it you who sent people to set it? The Duke of Anguo's expression shifted. Your Majesty, what makes you say that? Because I looked into it. The Emperor waved his hand, and several Jinyaiwei guards shoved a man covered in wounds up onto the platform. That man was one of the arsonists from back then. Talk. Who gave you your orders? Lu Tuan drove a kick into the man. The man cried out in pain and pointed toward the Duke of Anguo with trembling fingers. It was the Duke of Anguo. He gave me 1,000 taels of silver and told me to burn down the Shen family's silk shop. He said to do it clean, leave no one alive. The Duke of Anguo's face went completely white. You're lying, I never still dare to talk back. The Emperor slammed his hand down on the armrest of the dragon throne. Summoner, bring the Duke of Anguo's ledgers up here. Several eunuchs carried a few large chests of ledgers and set them on the platform. These were all seized from the Duke of Anguo's estate. They record in detail the silver you've embezzled over the years, the officials you've bought off, and also, the Emperor picked up one of the books and flipped it open, and your scheme to have Gu Yunzhou get close to Shenrong, using her to approach the Prince of Qin. The moment those words landed, the whole hall erupted in an uproar. I stood there, my heart shaking violently. So Gu Yunzhou marrying me, it had been Duke Anguo's plot from the very beginning. That is impossible, I murmured to myself. Xiao Jie glanced at me, a complicated emotion flashing through his eyes. Duke Anguo had already gone ashen, he knew it was all over. Your Majesty. He suddenly looked up, a flash of madness in his eyes. This subject confesses, but this subject wants to drag someone down with him. He snapped his head toward Xiao Jie. Prince of Qin, you think your hands are clean. The Empress Dowager's death, do you dare say you had nothing to do with it? Xiao Jie's expression didn't change. Duke Anguo, are you so desperate you're trying to drag this prince down with you? Duke Anguo laughed like a madman. I'm just stating the facts. The one who saved Shenruan's parents 3 years ago wasn't you. It was His Majesty the Emperor. You've been lying to her this whole time. You used her to get close to His Majesty the Emperor, trying to uncover the truth behind the Empress Dowager's death. You're the real mastermind behind all of this. The moment those words came out, the entire hall went dead silent. Every pair of eyes fell on Xiao Jue. I stared at him in shock too. Xiao Jue's expression finally shifted. He stood up and looked at Duke Anguo coldly. Do you have proof? Evidence? The Duke of Anguo pulled a letter written in blood from his chest pocket. This was written by Gu Yunzhou right before he died. It details exactly how you schemed step by step, how you used Shenruan, how you tried to bring down His Majesty the Emperor by using the Empress Dowager's death. He held the blood letter high above his head. Gu Yunzhou said the reason he married Shenruan was because you, the Prince of Qin, had your eye on her. You had him marry her, then divorce her, so she'd grow to resent the Marquis manor. That way you could swoop in and turn her into your pawn. My head started buzzing. Gu Yunzhou, he married me because of Xiao Jie. I looked over at Xiao Jie. His expression was frighteningly dark. Nonsense, he said coldly. Gu Yunzhou is dead. There is no one to corroborate it. And you think you can slander this prince with some bloodletter of unknown authenticity? Authenticity. The Duke of Anguo let out a cold laugh. Then let Shenruan speak for herself. Shenruan, you tell everyone hasn't the Prince of Qin been using you this whole time? Didn't he promise you that as long as you helped him bring down the Duke of Anguo, he'd let your parents go? Everyone's eyes locked onto me once again. I stood there, my palms drenched in cold sweat. What was I supposed to say? Say that Xiao Jie was using me. Then I'd be admitting I was the Prince of Qin's accomplice. Say that Xiao Jie wasn't using me, then I'd be covering for him, no matter what I said. It was a dead end. Just then, the Emperor suddenly spoke. Shenruan, I'll give you one more chance. As long as you tell the truth, I'll not only pardon your crimes, but also reward you handsomely. His voice carried a bewitching tone. I looked at him, then turned to look at Xiao Jue. Xiao Jue said nothing, just quietly watching me, his eyes holding both expectation and helplessness. I took a deep breath and slowly spoke. Your Majesty, this consort. Hold on. A crisp female voice suddenly rang out from below the platform. Everyone froze. A woman dressed in plain clothes was seen slowly walking up onto the high platform. It was Liu Yingying. She held a brocade box in her hands. her face set with a look of resolve. Your Majesty, this commoner has evidence that can prove who truly killed the Empress Dowager. Liu Yingying's appearance caught everyone completely off guard. Wasn't she supposed to be in the Ministry of Justice's prison? How did she end up here? The Emperor furrowed his brow. How bold. What makes you think this is a place you can just walk into? Someone seize her. Your Majesty, please wait. Liu Yingying knelt down and raised the brocade box in her hands high above her head. This commoner holds evidence that Gu Yunzhou entrusted to me before his death. This evidence concerns the truth behind the Empress Dowager's death. If your Majesty does not look at it, you will surely regret it in the future. The Emperor's expression shifted, and he finally waved for the Jinyaiwei to stand down. Bring it forward. Liu Yingying stood up and walked step by step to the Emperor, offering the brocade box with both hands. The Emperor opened the brocade box. Inside lay a blood-stained handkerchief and a letter. He unfolded the letter, his expression growing darker and darker. This is impossible. He shot to his feet, the letter in his hand trembling uncontrollably. Your Majesty, this was written in Gu Yunzhou's own hand. Liu Yingying's voice was calm but firm. The letter records in detail the truth of what happened 3 years ago. Duke Angguo did indeed want to use Gu Yunzhou to get close to Miss Shen, but Gu Yunzhou refused. He loved Miss Shen and didn't want her dragged into this power struggle. So he chose the cruelest way possible, divorcing her on their wedding night, making her hate him, driving her away from him and away from this whole mess. She turned to look at me, tears in her eyes. Miss Shen, Yunzhou never stopped loving you. Everything he did was to protect you. My tears came pouring out. So everything the old Marchioness said was true. Gu Yunzhou, he really did love me. As for the Prince of Qin, Liu Yingying looked toward Xiaozhou again. The letter mentions him too. The Prince of Qin did notice Miss Shen 3 years ago, but he saved Miss Shen's parents not to use her. It was because... She paused, her voice turning a little strange. Because the Prince of Qin owed Gu Yunzhou his life. Back then, when the Prince of Qin was ambushed in the borderlands, it was Gu Yunzhou who took a blade for him. The Prince of Qin promised him he would look after the people he cared about. As soon as those words came out, the whole room erupted in an uproar again. I stared at Xiao Jie in shock. He owed Gu Yunzhou his life, so that is why he saved my parents, why he kept looking out for me. Xiao Jie's face showed no expression at all, neither confirming nor denying. Enough, the Emperor suddenly roared. These are all old stories. What I want to know is the truth behind the Empress Dowager's death. Liu Yingying, you said you have evidence. Where is it? Liu Yingying reached into her chest and pulled out another object, a blood-stained diamond shard. This is the real murder weapon that Gu Yunzhou smuggled out of the Empress Dowager's bedchamber right before he died. She said, he traced the origin of this diamond. It was a tribute from the western regions, offered to your Majesty. And the person who entered the Empress Dowager's bedchamber that night was none other than Eunuch Wang, who serves at your Majesty's side. The Emperor's expression completely changed. You're talking nonsense. This commoner is not talking nonsense. Liu Yingying pulled out a jade pendant from her sleeve. This is Eunuch Wang's personal jade pendant. Gu Yunzhou found it outside the Empress Dowager's bedchamber. It still has the Empress Dowager's blood on it. She placed the jade pendant and the diamond shard on the ground together and knelt down, kowtowing. Your Majesty, Gu Yunzhou paid with his life for this evidence. He said he'd done many wrong things in his life, but he wanted to do one right thing before he died. He wanted to clear Miss Shen's name, and he wanted to give the world the truth. Dead silence fell over the entire hall. Everyone stared at the Emperor in shock. The Emperor stood there, his face cycling between pale and ashen. Summonon, come, he suddenly roared. Seize this witch for us. She is spreading lies and stirring up the people. Beat her to death on the spot. But no one moved. All the imperial guards stood there watching him, their eyes filled with doubt and fear. Your Majesty, Xiao Jue suddenly spoke, his voice ice cold. Even now, you still want to argue. He walked toward the Emperor step by step. 3 years ago, you started laying your plans to get rid of the Empress Dowager, to get rid of me, to get rid of everyone who posed a threat to your throne. You used Duke Angguo, you used Zhu Yunzhou, and you used Shenron. You thought you had everything under control, yet you never expected that Gu Yunzhou would leave behind this evidence right before he died. He walked up in front of the emperor and dropped to one knee, yet raised his head to look him straight in the eye. Imperial brother, your subject never once harbored thoughts of rebellion. All these years I shed blood and fought on the borderlands for nothing other than to keep Great Joe's realm standing firm. But what about you? You feared your subject's achievements would overshadow yours, feared your subject would threaten your throne, so you wanted your subject dead. And to kill your subject, you didn't even spare your own grandmother. His voice grew louder and louder, until the last words were nearly screamed out. Every civil and military official in the court knelt down and cried out in unison, "We implore your majesty to make your will known." The emperor looked at the subjects kneeling all across the floor, looked at Xiao Jie's eyes filled with disappointment and fury, and finally he laughed, laughing like a madman, laughing with desolation. "Good, very good." He clapped his hands. "Xiao Jie, you win. I admit it, the Empress Dowager was killed by me." The moment those words fell, the whole room erupted in an uproar. Why did I kill her? Because she played favorites. She only ever had eyes for you, her precious grandson, but never spared a real look for me, her emperor. I've sat on this throne for 10 years, and she never once looked at me properly. In her heart there was only you, the king of Qin, with all your glorious battle merits. The emperor's voice was laced with hysteria. I am the emperor, the supreme ruler under heaven, and yet in her eyes I couldn't even measure up to you. If I hadn't killed her, was I supposed to just wait for the day she deposed me and put you on this throne instead? He pointed at Xiao Jie, his finger trembling. You think I wanted to kill you? I was afraid of you. I was afraid that one day you'd do to me what I did to my second brother back then. I was afraid you'd take my kingdom from me. Xiao Jie closed his eyes, his voice hoarse. So you decided to strike first, is that it, Imperial brother? That is right. The emperor burst out laughing. I was going to strike first. What a shame I was still one move short. I never thought that useless Gu Yunzhou could leave behind evidence like that right before he died. And I never thought that you, Xiao Jie, would actually go and fall for a woman. He looked at me, a vicious gleam flashing in his eyes. Shenron, do you know? I originally planned to use you against Xiao Jue. I had someone set fire to your home, then sent Xiao Jue to save your parents, all to make you feel grateful to him, dependent on him, and eventually become his weakness. But I never expected that weakness of his would turn into his armor. I stood there, my whole body gone cold. So from beginning to end, I had always been the most pitiful pawn in this game of power. Enough. Xiao Jue rose to his feet, his voice ice cold. Imperial brother, you've already lost. Please take your own life. I will preserve your dignity and treat your children well. The emperor looked at him, then suddenly laughed. Take my own life. Xiao Jie, do you really think I'll just go quietly to my death? He suddenly yanked a dagger from his sleeve, not to plunge it into himself, but straight at me. You care about her so much. Then I'll make her die with me. Everything happened too fast. I didn't even have time to react. I only saw a flash of cold light, and the dagger was already driving toward my heart. Around, Xiao Jie's figure shot past like lightning, throwing himself in front of me, thud. The dagger plunged deep into his back. Blood instantly soaked through his robes. Xiao Jie, I cried out and lunged forward, catching his swaying body in my arms. He turned his head and gave me a weak smile. It is fine, this prince promised to protect you. Seize the traitor. The Imperial guards finally snapped to their senses and swarmed forward, pinning the emperor to the ground. The emperor was still laughing wildly. Xiao Jue, so this is where you end up, dying for a woman, ha 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 ha. His laughter cut off abruptly, because one of the Imperial guards had brought a blade down and taken his head, regicide. This Imperial guard had committed an unforgivable crime, but no one went after him for it because everyone knew this emperor had it coming. I held Xiao Jue in my arms, watching the color drain from his face, blood pouring endlessly from his wound. The Imperial physician, get the Imperial physician, now, I screamed through my tears. Xiao Ju raised his hand and touched my face, wiping away my tears. Don't cry. It is not a good look on you. Shut up. You hold on for me. Didn't you say you'd give me my freedom? Didn't you say you'd let me reunite with my parents? You can't die. I cried until my heart felt like it was being torn apart. Xiao Jue looked at me, a complicated mix of emotions flickering in his eyes. Heroine, I'm sorry. This prince has done many wrong things in his life. The one thing he got right was meeting you. Stop talking. You're going to be fine. You're definitely going to be fine. The imperial physician finally arrived, and a crowd of people surrounded Xiao Jue trying to save him. I was pulled to the side, kneeling on the ground with my hands pressed together, praying over and over. God, please, I'm begging you, save him. I can give up my freedom, I can give up everything, just please, save him. Xiao Jue had been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. In those 3 days, the capital city had been turned upside down. News of the late emperor's passing spread across the land, shaking the court and the public alike. The truth behind the Empress Dowager's death came to light. Duke Angguo was sentenced to death by 1,000 cuts, and all his associates were thrown in prison, and Xiao Jue, for his merit in saving the emperor, was supported by the court officials to be enthroned as the new emperor, but he was still lying in bed, his life hanging by a thread. I kept watch at his bedside for 3 days and 3 nights without closing my eyes. The imperial physicians said his injuries were too severe, that blade had pierced through his lungs and organs, and whether he'd wake up was entirely up to fate. I held his cold hand and called his name over and over again. Xiao Jue, wake up. Didn't you want to become emperor? Didn't you want to unite the world under your rule? How can you fall here? You made me a promise that you'd set me free, that you'd let me reunite with my parents. You can't go back on your word. Will you please wake up? If you wake up, I'll agree to anything. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. If you want me to stay by your side, I'll stay, and I'll never leave again. As I spoke, tears started falling again. It was only then that I realized, without knowing when, I had already come to care about him. To care about this man who had once controlled me, used me, and yet protected me time and time again. On the night of the 3rd day, I fell asleep slumped over at the edge of his bed. In a daze, I felt someone stroking my hair. I jolted awake and met Xiao Jue's eyes, weak but clear. You're awake, I cried out in surprise and joy. Xiao Jue smiled weakly. This king thought he'd never see you again. Nonsense, you're going to live to 100. I wiped my tears and turned to go call the imperial physician, but Xiao Jue grabbed my hand. Don't go, let this king look at you a little longer. I stopped, turned around, and looked at him. His face was pale as paper, his lips drained of color, yet his eyes were gentler than they'd ever been. Heroine, this king just heard what you said. My face flushed. You were pretending to be asleep. Not pretending, I really couldn't wake up. But your voice kept ringing in this king's ears and pulled him back from the gates of hell. He tightened his grip on my hand. You said you were willing to stay by this king's side. Does that still count? I bit my lip and finally nodded. It counts. A flash of joy crossed Xiao Jue's eyes. Really, really. I took a deep breath. But I have conditions. Go ahead first. I want to see my parents. You have to let our family reunite. Second, I don't want to be some empress or imperial consort. I just want to be myself and keep running my glassware shop. Third, I paused and looked him in the eyes. Third, you have to promise me no more lying to me, no more using me as a pawn. Between us, we have to be honest with each other. Xiao Jue looked at me and suddenly smiled, his eyes going wet at the corners. All right, this king promises you. He used every last bit of his strength to pull me into his arms. Heroine, this king has done many wrong things in his life, but meeting you, that is the most right thing this king has ever done. I leaned against his chest, listening to his faint but steady heartbeat, tears sliding down my face without a sound. Gu Yunzhou, can you see this? I finally walked out of the past and found someone who truly cares about me. Thank you for the protection you once gave me, and thank you for letting me go in the end. May your soul rest in peace. Half a year later, capital city, Liuli workshop. Boss, this batch of glass cups turned out so well. They're definitely gonna sell for a good price. Qingque held up a crystal clear glass cup with a big grin, showing it off to me. I took it and looked it over carefully, then nodded with satisfaction. The quality this time really is pretty good. Qingque, your craft keeps getting better and better. Qingque laughed a little shyly. It is all because the boss taught me well. I set down the glass cup and walked over to the window, looking out at the bustling street below. Half a year, so many things had changed. Xiao Jie ascended the throne as emperor, changed the era name to Yong'an, and threw himself into governing, cleaning up the court. The Duke of Anguo's faction was uprooted entirely, and the court's atmosphere was cleansed. And I remained the owner of the glassworks, still firing glass every day, living a quiet life. The only difference was that my parents had been brought back to Capital City, living right in the backyard of the glassworks. Being able to see them every day, listening to them nag, is the happiest thing in my life. Heroine. A familiar voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw Xiao Zhou standing at the doorway in casual clothes, without the imposing air of imperial robes, just a gentle smile. Why are you here? Didn't you say you had ministers to meet today? I walked over. All done. He took my hand. This king missed you, so I came to see you. I rolled my eyes at him, such a smooth talker. Xiao Jie laughed and pulled me into his arms. Heroine, this king has something to discuss with you. What is it? This king wants to make you empress. My body stiffened, and I pushed him away. Didn't we already agree? I'm not becoming empress. This king knows. Xiao Jie held my hand. But this king wants to give you a proper title. Wants everyone in the world to know that you are the person this king cares about most. I looked at his earnest eyes and felt my heart soften. But I don't want to enter the palace. I don't want to leave the glassworks. I don't want to leave my parents. Then I won't enter the palace, Xiao Jue said. I can come to the glasswork shop every day, keep you company while you blow glass, and be with your parents. The title of empress is just a name, it won't change your life. I hesitated. Xiao Jue continued. Heroine, I know you haven't fully forgiven me yet, and I know I've done a lot of things that hurt you, but I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you to prove how I feel about you. Give me a chance, okay? I looked at the sincerity and hope in his eyes, and finally let out a sigh. All right, but I have conditions. Go ahead. First, I'm keeping the glass workshop running. You're not allowed to interfere. Second, my parents stay at the glass workshop, and you have to come visit them regularly. Third, I paused, my face going a little red. Third, you have to promise me that in this lifetime you'll only marry me, no concubines, no harem. Xiao Jie was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. Deal, I promise you. In this lifetime I'll only marry you, not a single concubine. He pulled me into a tight embrace. A ruin. Thank you for being willing to give me a chance. I swear I will make you happy. I leaned against his chest, a small smile tugging at the corner of my lips. 3 years ago, I thought my life was already ruined. But now I finally understand that wasn't destruction. It was rebirth. I walked through the darkest abyss and witnessed the ugliest side of human nature. But I also met people who truly cared about me and found my own happiness. Gu Yunzhou, thank you for letting me go in the end. Xiao Jie, thank you for watching over me. And I, Shen Rowan, can finally live for myself. Outside the window, the sunlight is just right. The sign of Liu Li Fang gleams brilliantly in the sunlight. I know my new life has only just begun. 3 years lying low, one day turning it all around. Shen Ron went from a cast-off wife to a businesswoman running Liu Li Fang, from a chess piece to the one holding the pieces. She rewrote her fate with her own wit and grit. Gu Yunzhou guarded her with his life. Xiao Jie won her over with a genuine heart, and she finally learned to live for herself. This is a story about betrayal and redemption, being used and being loved for real, revenge and letting go. May everyone struggling in the dark find the light that belongs to them. The core game logic of this story comes down to one line. She was never running away, she was using every moment she got backed into a corner to remeasure her own limits, then push that line a little further forward, again and again. Gu Yunzhou thought he was abandoning her. He was actually setting her free. Xiao Jie thought he was controlling her. He was actually training her. The emperor thought he was using her. He was actually building her up. Everyone who tried to turn her into a chess piece ended up becoming just one square on her board. This wasn't luck, this was a person, under extreme pressure, forced to complete their own evolution. Systematic thinking, how this spring-loaded narrative was built when writing this story. I set one core constraint for myself. Every layer of oppression must be met with a counterattack from a higher dimension. Gu Yunzhou forced her to sign the divorce document on their wedding night. Her counterattack wasn't crying or making a scene, but signing without hesitation. then spending 3 years turning herself into someone he couldn't even dream of reaching. Xiaoju threatened her with her parents' lives. Her counterattack wasn't submission, but finding the key to breaking the entire case wide open. While locked away in a water dungeon, the Emperor set a death trap with a face-to-face confrontation. Her counterattack wasn't to run, but to take Gu Yunzhou's suicide letter and flip the Emperor's hand right in front of the entire court. That is the core logic of spring-loaded storytelling. The harder you press it down, the higher it flies back up. But the direction it flies is never back the way it came. It is always to a higher dimension. There is another structure I deliberately designed. Every villain's downfall comes from their misjudgment of Shenron. Gu Yunzhou lost because he thought a merchant girl only cared about money. Xiao Jie lost because he thought controlling someone's lifeline meant controlling their heart. The Emperor lost because he thought a lowly little merchant girl wouldn't dare flip the table in open court. They didn't lose to Shenron, they lost to the price they put on her. However low you value someone, that is exactly how much room she has to blow past your expectations. Finally, about the character Gu Yunzhou, he is the most complex and the most bittersweet presence in this entire story. He loved her, yet protected her in the way that hurt her most. He died, yet through his farewell letter, gave her one last chance to change her fate. Between them, there was no perfect ending, yet there was something heavier than a perfect ending, called mutual fulfillment. The word Shenron spoke before his grave are the gentlest footnote to this story. Thank you for not marrying me back then. If after finishing this story, the first question that surfaces in your mind is at what moment did Shenron truly let go of Gu Yunzhou, then it means the emotional logic of this story succeeded, because that moment was not when she laid down the land deed before his grave, nor when she brushed past Xiao Jie at the dock. It was in the small courtyard on Nanluo Lane, the first time she opened the kiln door and saw that dazzling, brilliant light. When a person finds the thing they truly love, the wounds of the past really do become just the past. Those who read this story all the way to the end are usually not readers looking for a rush, but readers looking for resonance. You are the people I most wanted to write this for. Follow Maggie Liu. See you next time.